The wicked king was overthrown by a poor warrior called Agbo, a man with a dream greater than his hunger, a fire brighter than his suffering. But before that day of glory came, there was darkness, a darkness so thick that even the sun seemed afraid to shine over Arumona kingdom. Arumona, a land of red earth and tall baobab trees. A land once blessed with yam festivals, laughter and drums, now silenced by the iron fist of king called Agabaidu, the tyrant who called himself the Lion of the Hills. His warriors moved through the villages like locusts, collecting taxes from the poor, beating farmers who could not pay. The people whispered his name only at night, afraid the wind might carry it to his spies. And somewhere beyond the river, in a mud hut covered in old palm fronds, a boy named Agbo sharpened his wooden spear, dreaming of a better dawn. Agbo was no ordinary man. Born of a hunter's blood and a weaver's patience, he grew in the shadow of hunger. His father died when he was 12, killed by the king's guards for refusing to surrender his last goat. From that day, Agbo learned two truths: that power without justice is poison, and that silence before evil is itself a form of death. He trained his body beneath the moonlight, wrestling with the river's current, leaping from boulders, running through thorny paths barefoot. While other boys chased dreams of wives and wine, Agbo chased discipline. His mother, Mama Auta, often wept by the fire and said, "My son, strength alone cannot save you. Even the lion needs wisdom to rule the forest." And Agbo would smile softly, "Then I will learn both, mother, strength and wisdom. I will learn them until they become my shadow." Years passed. The boy became a man, tall, broad-shouldered, and sharp-eyed. Yet still poverty clung to him like an uninvited ghost. He worked in the farmlands of the nobles, his sweat feeding those who despised his kind. But in his heart burned a secret vision of Arumona reborn, a land where children could sleep without fear, where the cries of widows no longer echoed in the night. He dreamed, and dreams, when held too tightly, grow teeth. One market day, the king's soldiers came to the lower quarters. They accused the farmers of hiding yams to avoid tax. Men were whipped, women were stripped of their dignity. Agbo stood among them, his fists trembling. A soldier struck an old man to the ground, a man named Ede, who had once taught Agbo how to trap bush rats. Agbo stepped forward and caught the soldier's arm mid-strike. The crowd froze. Only the sound of wind through dry millet filled the air. "Who are you to touch a king's guard?" the soldier hissed. Agbo's eyes were calm, a son of Arumona, and a man who has seen enough injustice.
He pushed the soldier back, gently but firmly. The people gasped. That night, his name traveled faster than the drums. Some whispered in fear, others in hope. For the first time in years, hope found a name: Agbo. But the king heard of it too. He sent his general Idoko the leopard to arrest Agbo. Agbo fled into the forest, a fugitive with nothing but his mother's blessing and an old spear carved from Iroku wood. The forest became his teacher. He listened to the songs of the crickets and the whispers of the wind. He hunted to survive, meditated beside ancient stones, and trained until his body became a weapon of precision. In the forest, he met others, men and women broken by the king's cruelty, farmers whose lands had been seized, warriors disgraced, widows who had lost sons to the tax wars. Among them was Oche, a blacksmith whose hands could shape iron like clay, and Onoja, a hunter who could strike a bird mid-flight. Together, they formed a brotherhood, the flame of Arumona. Every night they trained under the moon, learning the language of stealth and the rhythm of battle. Agbo spoke to them not as a leader, but as a brother. "We fight," he said, "not for revenge, but for justice, not to rule, but to restore. Arumona will rise, not on the strength of one man, but on the courage of many." His words sank deep into their hearts, like seeds in fertile soil. Years passed. The flame grew. Villagers began to hide food for them, spread rumors to confuse the king's men, and sing old songs of freedom once banned by decree. The forest that once hid fugitives now hid a revolution. The day came when thunder rolled over Arumona, not from the sky, but from the mountains where Agbo's warriors descended like spirits of vengeance. They struck the palace guards first, swift and silent. Drums of war echoed through the valleys. The people, long silenced, took up farm tools and joined the rebellion. The tyrant soldiers fought with fear, the rebels with purpose. Agbo moved like a shadow, calm, precise, unstoppable. Each swing of his blade carried the weight of every tear shed in Arumona. Before I continue, I want you to like this video, comment, and subscribe so you can watch more of this. At the height of battle, he came face to face with King Agabaidu, clad in gold armor and arrogance. The king sneered. "You, a son of nobody, dare raise your hand against the lion of Arumona?" Agbo's voice was steady. "A lion without mercy is just another beast, and the people are no longer your prey." Their blades met with a sound that split the night. Sparks danced like fireflies. The fight raged, strength against justice, cruelty against courage.
At last, with one final strike, Agbo disarmed the king and drove his spear into the ground beside him. He looked down, eyes heavy with both victory and sorrow. "You ruled with fear," he said quietly, "but fear cannot build a kingdom." The people stormed the palace. They did not cheer, they wept. For at long last, the storm had ended. When morning came, the red earth of Arumona gleamed under golden light. The air smelled of smoke and freedom. The council of elders gathered beneath the sacred tree, the Iroko of Obade, where kings were chosen. They called for Agbo, now weary and blood-stained, to kneel before them. The oldest among them, Elder Okoli, spoke. "You who were born in poverty but rose in courage, you who turned pain into purpose, the spirit of our ancestors have chosen you. From this day, you are not Agbo the warrior, you are Agabaidu, the king of Arumona." The drums thundered, the people knelt, and for the first time in generations, the sound of joy filled the air. Agbo looked to the sky, whispering a prayer for his late mother. "Mama, your son kept his promise." Under Agbo's reign, justice became the new law. The markets reopened. Children danced again in the fields. Thieves who once ruled in the palace now served in the fields to rebuild the land. He built schools of wisdom, where warriors learned honor before battle. He decreed that no man should go hungry, while another wasted grain. His voice carried not as command, but as guidance. A kingdom is not strong by the sword, but by the peace its people feel when the sun sets. Under his watch, Arumona became the envy of neighboring lands, a symbol of rebirth where courage had conquered corruption. But Agbo never forgot his roots. He would walk barefoot through the villages every moon's end, greeting farmers, blessing newborns, and listening to the cries of the poor. He ruled with humility, for he knew what it meant to have nothing. Years later, when Agbo's beard turned gray and his eyes soft like dusk, he would gather the children of the palace and tell them stories by the fire. "Remember," he would say, "that greatness does not begin in palaces, but in hearts that refuse to yield. I was once a boy with nothing but a dream that the sun could rise again over Arumona." The children would listen wide-eyed as the old drums whispered in the distance. When Agbo finally passed, the people mourned not as subjects, but as family. They buried him under the Iroko tree, where the winds carried his name across the hills. And long after the earth had covered him, the bards of Arumona sang, "From dust he rose like thunder from silence. From hunger he forged strength. He came not to rule, but to heal. His name was Agbo, the Agabaidu, who turned sorrow into sunrise." The story of Agbo, the poor warrior who became king, is not just a tale of war. It is the heartbeat of every man who dreams of a just world. For within every humble soul lies a spark, and when that spark meets purpose, it can set even the darkest kingdom ablaze with light. The wind carries a whisper, "Arumona shall never fall again." Like, comment, and subscribe, and watch out for more videos.